Timestamps are in the description. Thank you for watching my full review of everything Baro has ever brought. So there isn't really a straightforward way to show a tier list for this smattering of items. Here's what I did instead. This video is just in Baro's inventory order, which you'll see in a second, but the timestamps are organized by how much I recommend getting an item. So the tier listy bit is organized in the timestamps. The video is in, I guess, chronological order, while the timestamps are in tier order. It's a hybrid timestamp order, a Kiteer order, if you will. Now, let's get down to business. You and I have a unique opportunity right now that we'll probably never have again. Let me explain. So this year has been a complete disaster for humanity, but for this specific little video game event, it's put us in a unique situation. Since Baro has been delayed, since TennoCon has been delayed, he's visiting twice. Once when TennoCon would have been, when the ticket holders thought he was going to come, and another time when TennoCon's actually going to happen. That was a thoughtful thing of them to do. So this situation is great because it allows me to make you a full video on everything Baro has ever brought while it's all here, while we can look at it, while also giving you quite a lot of time to gather the resources you need to buy what you decide you want. You have almost a month until the end of his second visit, more than enough time to earn a ton of this stuff. So anyway, lucky us. For these non-primed mods, mostly near the beginning, the most important thing you should know is whether or not they are farmable, and a lot of them are, and a lot of them are not worth getting, but I'm going to specify that as we go through them. That is, can you get them somewhere other than Baro? If you can, you probably should. If a mod is farmable, you can easily find out where it drops by checking the Warframe wiki. Keep in mind that farmable mods that are also available from Baro tend to be very cheap pickups from other players as well, so consider just buying them with platinum as well as farming them. Alright, here we go. I'm making this entire video in one take without stopping, and that take has begun. Behold, the Baro Ki'Tierlist! Sort of voltaic strike. Not farmable, these status elementals are all staple mods across all weapon types, but having many elemental options is a bit less useful on melee at the time of this recording due to their more crowded builds. This still helps make corrosive, and you want that sometimes, especially since melee has a primed version of the vanilla toxin elemental mod. One status element and one vanilla element makes for great marginal benefits. But lastly, keep in mind that melee weapons also have access to weeping wounds, making any other source of status chance less useful on high combo focused builds, which not all melee builds are, but some of them certainly are, and those are good. Volcanic Edge, you can farm this one. Same discussion about supplemental elements being less marginally powerful on more mod-crowded melee weapons applies here, but having lots of options is good, and can be fun, so pick up more mods for melee anyway. Just don't pick up this one because it's farmable. Vermilion Storm is farmable. It's an okay stance for an okay weapon category. The notable claw weapon at the moment is Venka Prime, and that's most often used for its extended combo counter to benefit other weapons, rather than used as a weapon itself. That being said, stance choices are nice, and this one has some nice hitboxes that hit enemies in a good angle around you. Subjectively, it looks rather stylish. It's hard to recommend stances without simply letting you use them and feel out if you like them, but this one is fine from a technical perspective. Again though, it's farmable, no need to get it here. Thermite Rounds is farmable, a very standard heat status elemental. Those are all excellent to have on hand, you'll use them all a lot. Be careful not to stack up too much status though. Every weapon with decent crit and status should be modded for both. Don't run all of these on your weapons, just some of them. Tempo Royale is farmable, one of two popular heavy blade stances for the overloaded heavy blade category. Tempo Royale gives lots of mobility with some of the most powerful melee weapons in the game. Its competition, Cleaving Whirlwind, has superior focused damage, but getting from enemy to enemy represents damage too. This is a lovely farmable stance. Sweeping Serration is farmable. You getting tired of me saying that yet? I am. Adding slash damage to your weapons does not increase how much damage their slash procs individually deal, but it does increase how many slash procs you'll get relative to everything else. So that can be useful sometimes. It's a bit less useful on shotguns and rifles, because Hunter Munitions often does that job better, but this is not useless, it's just farmable. Note that physical damage mods are part of the same multiplier as elemental mods, but only give you the % more of the physical damage of that type you already have, So usually, for raw damage, you'd rather just have elements, and status effects are usually better than raw damage anyway. Split Flights. This is not farmable. This is an extremely niche but very powerful alternative mod for bows that gives you multi-shot. It replaces Split Chamber, so you can't have both, and you can't equip it on crossbows or on the explosive bows. Normal bows don't work too well with Split Flights unless you use them as shotguns, which is not a thing that I would recommend that you do, and normal bows aren't all that great anyway in the current state of the game. But the Mutalised Cernos is pretty nuts with this mod, since it's more about carpeting an area with its spore clouds. Try repeatedly firing it without charging the shots up. The Cernos Prime also already operates similarly to Split Flights, so that's another good place for it. Overall, this is not a mod you'll use a lot, but where it's good, it defines those weapons, so if you like them, get this. Shell Shock is farmable. Yep, this sure is a status elemental. Those are worth having. They're worth farming. Shotguns used to have some wonky math that made their status output bad unless you had a ton of it, but that's not the case anymore, and you can build them as hybrid weapons with crit and status in moderation, just like other weapons, to great effect. So you should farm and not buy this mod so that you can do that. Scorch is farmable. Pistol status elemental. Sounds good to me. Something you'll use all the time. Heat is a versatile supplemental element, since one proc melts half of an enemy's armor. Worth a farm. Scattering Inferno is farmable. Same deal with other shotgun status elementals, broadly useful, a staple mod that you'll use a lot. Heat is a good standalone element to add to a build when the situation calls for it. Shotguns don't have that weird status math anymore, but you still want more status chance on them, and this gives you that. Farm-worthy mod. Pummel is farmable. These mods that give you physical damage are the same multiplier as elemental mods, so usually the elements are better since they have powerful status effects that represent damage multipliers on their own, and because the physical mods don't give you the listed percent of all of your damage, they only give you that much of however much of that physical damage type you already have. Impact is not usually a notable damage type, so even though its status effect can have its uses, this mod really doesn't, and I'd skip it. Okay, some primed mods now. So a few considerations here are whether the non-primed version gets the job done, whether the primed version is enough better to be worth using if the non-primed version usually wasn't, and whether the primed mod is useful often or not. As I discuss each primed mod, I'll try to give you an idea of how much I'd prioritize it, but mostly I'd just think about how often you'll use it and how big of a difference it makes. Again, the actual tier list is in the description. Primed Target Cracker. Dramatically stronger critical damage mod for secondaries, a mod you'll use on very nearly every good secondary weapon in the game. One of the most useful pickups. Nothing interesting to say, it's just very good. The Prime Smite mods, so I'm grouping these together. So I only recommend the Grineer one. I recommend that one because they're the faction that's significantly harder to killer than Corpus and Infested, and you'll also encounter them way more often than Corrupted. But there's a more complicated factor here as well. Usually the way people talk about these faction mods is that they're theoretically worth it, but it's not really necessary, like it's an unnecessary pain to switch to them, but they are good damage. And that's actually not entirely true. A lot of the time, even if you know you're fighting only Grineer all the time, it's still better not to use Prime Smite Grineer, because having more elemental damage, more of the element that you're proccing that has a good status effect that ignores or reduces enemy armor, that would often be better overall. But given infinite mod space, you'd quickly be putting these on as well, and if you use something like an Arcane or a Warframe power that is freeing up mod space, these are just about the next thing that's in line to go into that freed up mod slot. So fair enough. Melee weapons have the exact opposite of infinite mod space though. Since the competition is high for the few melee mod slots you have, these aren't a good choice plenty of the time, even in ideal circumstances. I suppose if you fight Corrupted a lot, or you do like to switch builds, you could get all of them, but I'd still strongly recommend getting the Grineer one first if you get any of them at all, which I don't really recommend doing. Primed Slip Magazine. This doesn't go in the Excellent slot because magazine capacity is damage. You're increasing your sustained damage by reducing how often you have to reload. This is a pistol mod though, and pistols have this unique little mod called Ice Storm that gives almost as much magazine capacity and also some cold damage. There aren't many situations where I can see using 2 magazine capacity mods, so this one is pretty underwhelming most of the time. Primed Shotgun Ammo Mutation. Oh boy. You can just use Carrier, or an Ammo Scavenger Aura, or a frame that makes more loot, or more ammo, on the rare occasion that you even need more ammo, but this is an Exilis mod, so you don't have to give up too much to equip it on the surface. Mostly you're just losing some handling, or headshot consistency most of the time. Shotgun ammo is also rarer, so mutations are a bit better for it than for other more common ammo types. But on the other hand, projectile speed mods, which do go in the Weapon Exilis slot, increase the fall-off range for shotguns, even those that aren't hit scan and don't have flight time. Just to be doubly clear, you can check this in the arsenal, you'll see that projectile speed mods will increase your fall-off range, even if the weapon is hit scan and doesn't have travel time. That might seem unintuitive, but they do that. That's quite valuable on most shotguns, and I don't think a usually unnecessary and easily replaceable ammo mutation is better than that most of the time, and even if it somehow is what you want, you can just use a non-primed one. Primed Rubido Lined Barrel. Hella more damage for heavy weapons, and I guess also arc gun space combat for what that's worth. Heavy weapons are good, they're not really much better or worse than other types of guns on the ground, they have some nice utility. The big thing about this mod is that it's way more base damage, way more of an upgrade than the other primed base damage mods are. Almost twice as much base damage as heavy weapons have without it, which is not to be understated. I feel like that's already pretty overstated, but seriously, heavy weapon vanilla elemental mods also give more damage than other categories vanilla elements do. So the marginal benefit of having more base damage with which to multiply that more elemental damage you get from heavy weapon mods is even better. Now, having said all of that, it's not easy to get access to heavy weapons on the ground, and even then you need to install Gravimags, but if you do have access to heavy weapons, they're worth using, and this makes them do way more damage, so it would then be well worth having. Primed Rifle Ammo Mutation. Here we go again. You could just use Carrier or an Ammo Scavenger Aura or a frame that makes more loot or more ammo on the rare occasion that you even need more ammo, which you won't because rifle ammo is also very common, and most rifles can hold a huge amount in reserve to get you through dry spells without as many drops. So this is a particularly unnecessary ammo mutation most of the time. You can find something more worthwhile in your Weapon Exilis slot, get some recoil reduction or accuracy or some such, and even if this is somehow what you want, you can use the non-primed version. Moving on to Primed Regen. Hey, Sentinels are extremely useful. This makes them come back to life more times. Good. Straightforward. A lot of the time they're more reliable or they have more relevant utility than Beast Companions or MOAs, but they're not revivable, which can be a pain, and this mod makes them come back to life significantly more times in every single one of your missions forever. In the event that you need a revive, Prime Regen also combos nicely with Sacrifice, because it makes your Sentinel invulnerable for the full duration of that revive. One specific detail to know is that you get the third revive from this mod at rank 9. You don't get all the revives right away, you get them as you rank up. The third one is at rank 9, and rank 9 to rank 10 costs the same as rank 0 to rank 9. So that means you can get basically all of the benefit for half of the cost, even more than that's already true for other primed mods. This is one of the most universally useful mods in the game, and it's only bad during rather long missions, which Warframe does not often incentivize you to do. So I highly recommend Primed Regen, and using companions in general. They're a powerful part of any loadout. Primed Reach. Oh, Reach. The normal version of you is so bad. Only 3 ranks. This is like triple the strength of the non-primed version. But the positives don't end there. Melee range is one of the only stats that gets mathematically stronger the more of it you have, instead of getting marginally weaker the more of it you have. Because this range increase is determining the radius of the circle in which your melee weapon can hit. Because geometry, that means that the more range you have, the more square area your melee weapon will become able to hit with even more range. So you can combine this with a Riven with range, or even the obscure mod Spring-Loaded Blade, which gives more range, or both for cleave and all of the damage to all of the things. And you'll use Prime Reach on all sorts of types of melee builds too. Combo builds, and heavy builds, and everything in between. Great mod, limited only by how competitive and healthy the state of melee modding is. I do want to note that without more range, many categories of melee weapons currently feel way too short, though there are other ways around that, like Exodia Hunt on Zaws to pull enemies together, or various stances that just hit a better area, or other abilities which group enemies together for you. But yeah, melee range mods are real good, and they make each other better. Get this mod. Primed Ravage. Like Primed Target Cracker, this is roughly double the strength of the non-primed critical damage mod on all shotguns, which is amazing, but the shotgun critical chance mods are kinda bad, so although it remains worthwhile to mod shotguns for crit, and this mod is very good when you're doing that, which is most of the time, it's certainly less useful than its pistol counterpart, primed pistol counterpart. Still a great mod to have though. Primed Quick Draw. Reload speed is an unintuitive stat, so 88% reload speed is not removing 88% of your total reload time, it just increases the speed at which you reload by 88%. That being said, this is the strongest straightforward reload speed mod in the game, and one of the only ones that's compelling and significant from a sustained damage perspective. And it's useful to have around for various secondary weapons. Just keep in mind that you can always use Eject Magazine and or the Synth set, they stack, to reload your weapons automatically while holstered if they have long reload times. Primed Pressure Point. You would think that a primed base damage mod would just be a straightforward recommendation, but it isn't for two main reasons. First, that melee weapons have another very potent base damage mod in Condition Overload, and second, that this isn't that much more base damage than normal Pressure Point, only up from 120% to 165%. Condition Overload is usually best for combo-focused builds that will be accumulating different status effects, while Pressure Point here is usually more useful on heavy attack weapons. Both types of weapons are powerful in many situations, but heavy attack weapons also have Killing Blow, another base damage mod applying only to heavy attacks that gives as much as normal Pressure Point does. So the marginal benefit of even more base damage on Pressure Point is lower because of that. Still, more damage is more damage, and melee weapons are powerful, so it's not silly to run both Pressure Point and Condition Overload depending on how you use your melee weapons. This is certainly still good, just not something that I would prioritize despite how universally useful it might at first appear to be. Primed Point Blank. Yet again, a base damage primed mod that presents different considerations than the others. This one is middle of the road, there's less to say. Like Prime Pressure Point, it isn't that much more damage than the non-primed version, but it is what you'll be using basically every time you mod a shotgun, so there's not a lot else to say here. Consider this a moderately good pickup if you use shotguns a lot, around the same as Primed Ravage. Primed Pistol Gambit, a primed critical mod? Yeah, you want this as soon as possible. It'll be useful on almost every good secondary in the game. It gives you way more critical consistency. It's fantastic and one of the most valuable overall primed mods to have. Primed Pistol Ammo Mutation. Oh, contrast. Pistol ammo drops like candy, and you can still also just use Carrier, or an Ammo Scavenger Aura, or a frame that makes more loot, or more ammo, on the rare occasion that you even need more ammo, and Copy Pasta. Don't prioritize ammo mutations, they aren't really necessary. Even if they somehow are useful to you, you can use a non-primed one. Primed Pack Leader. This is a case where the non-primed mod generally gets the job done just fine, and this is overkill, or I suppose overheal. Your pet is probably dying because you aren't meleeing to heal it, not because you aren't healing it for enough. This heals your pet for 66% of your melee damage, so think of it this way. How fast could you kill your pet from full health with melee attacks even if you had 33% less damage? Yup, you'd probably one-shot it. This is completely unnecessary to get primed, as useful as the normal version can be. Although one other factor is that Link Health, the Link Health mod, also copies some forms of healing that affect your Warframe to your pet, including common melee healing like Life Strike and Healing Return. So while you have Link Health equipped, Life Strike and Healing Return will heal your pet too. So you often don't even need non-primed pack leader. Do not get this mod. Primed Morphic Transformer. Sure, let's just keep the oblique mods coming. Hard to evaluate this right now because Arcwing is getting an overhaul fairly soon, and it isn't important to have good Arcwing stats anywhere in the current game. There are very few power stat mods for Arcwing, so this is about the only way to get more strength. That's something. I'd only get this for future-proofing, that's the only reason I got it. It won't do much for you right now. Primed Heavy Trauma. Physical damage mods aren't usually any good because they're the same multiplier as elemental mods, but without the great damage bonuses and status effects elementals have, and you don't generally want more impact procs. One place this mod is often recommended is on Atlas's Landslide, since that's pure impact, and there's not much else to mod onto it other than piles and piles of elemental type multiplier damage, which this mod is. But even then, the overall percent damage increase you're getting by going from the non-primed version of this to the primed version is tiny because the marginal benefit is so low. You're adding so much damage that is already this multiplier already to those Atlas Landslide builds that the marginal benefit of this being primed instead of not is extremely small. This is not worth your resources compared to other investments, arguably even if you only play Atlas. Primed Heated Charge. Another often misused mod. This is the primed version of the normal vanilla heated charge mod, so that's the primed vanilla element for secondaries. Heat is not an element you want a lot of, though. The one heat proc is usually most of the benefit, armor reduction and that panic effect stunning them. Heat does do damage over time, and that stacks and builds up in a theoretically powerful way, but it doesn't do a significant amount of damage that's efficient to build around in practice. So by running a lot of heat with this mod, you're often actually making your build weaker by distracting more from some other status effect that would be increasing your overall damage, like more viral or corrosive. Still, sometimes your build will benefit from raw damage, so this isn't terrible all the time, but you won't be gaining damage by having this mod very often, so I certainly wouldn't pick it up before quite a few other primed mods. Primed Flow. Normal Flow is pretty significant, but Primed Flow is better at everything Normal Flow is good at, so it's a matter of evaluating those things. What is Flow in general good at? Most of the time, I see Normal Flow on a build, and it's being used as though it gives you more energy, which it doesn't. It just lets you hold more energy at a given time, which usually doesn't do anything. You could just leave the energy orbs on the ground until you need them. Flow is quite good if you're casting lots of things all at once, because you do need to be holding the energy, like with Protea during her time rewinding ability. And it's also good with Quick Thinking, since it increases the size of what is effectively your health bar with Quick Thinking, your energy reserves. The only other time I'd recommend Flow is when you're generating a lot of energy yourself that isn't energy orbs, such as with Trinity's Energy Vampire or Harrow's Thurible, because then you are losing energy if you don't have the room to store it. If you are doing those things a lot, Primed Flow would be a nice upgrade, but I don't use this term lightly when I say that this one is overrated. It's not bad, but not great, and often used for things it isn't great at. Use Hunter Adrenaline or Streamline instead if you need to mod your frame for better energy economy. Primed Fever Strike. The best of the primed vanilla elementals. This one is for melee, a category that can easily get a ton of status chance from Weeping Wounds instead of from status elementals, which makes it really nice to have a ton of vanilla elemental damage. And this is Toxin, which builds into our most powerful combined elementals, so it's excellent and well worth having on many types of builds. Also, all of these prime vanilla elementals are notably large improvements from their non-primed 90% damage counterparts. Primed Fast Hands. Both the non-primed and primed versions are not strong enough. This is a place where I hope for a buff someday. But there are a few weapons where there's just nothing else you want, and this is fine in those situations. I wouldn't value this highly, and remember it's not a weapon Exilus mod, it shouldn't be. It directly increases your sustain damage because it makes you reload faster. The problem is just that it doesn't increase that by that much. Primed Expel mods, so again I'm grouping these together. Yeah, we talked about them before, covered those when talking about the Smite ones. I only recommend the Grineer one, and even then, I kinda don't. It's often not much worth using, even against Grineer, but overall, they often aren't terrible if you want to swap builds for every mission. I just don't think they're worth your resources over other stuff. Moving right along. Primed Cryo Rounds. The Rifle Primed Vanilla Elemental. This one is cold, which is pretty okay. More viral is often quite good. The only major negative thing I have to say here is that it's got a deep polarity, so that can require some reformatting more than other mods do. As with all vanilla elements, keep in mind that this can be a hindrance if you're stacking some other elemental, like Corrosive, since it will distract from the good status effects that would be increasing your damage more than just more raw damage. But that's notable because Cold has solid damage type bonuses. You would actually want to do that, or you might think you'd want to do that with Cold. This is still pretty middle of the road though, it's an acceptable primed mod. Primed Continuity, the rifle primed vanilla elemental that was spoken of before. No, this is even better. It is a good recommendation for a first mod to pick up. Good in a huge majority of builds you might want to make for almost all frames. Prime Continuity is a popular recommendation for the first primed mod you pick up, and that's reasonable, it's fantastic. Although, there is one thing I'd recommend over it, which we're getting close to now. Not much to say here, it's almost double the duration from the non-primed version. That's overwhelmingly useful, one of the best overall primed mods, and a great one to go for early. Also better than the vanilla elemental with which I confused it. The primed cleanse mods, oh boy! Covered these when talking about the smite mods. Where's the Grineer one? I only recommend the Grineer one, and even then it's not much worth using even against Grineer, but overall they aren't terrible if you just want to swap builds every mission. I just don't think they're worth your resources over other stuff. Moving right along. Those of you watching this whole video instead of using timestamps, we only have to do this one more time, don't worry. Prime Charge Shell. The primed vanilla shotgun elemental. It's electricity this time, a fine element to have primed. You can build a lot of corrosive, for example. You can make lots of radiation against status immune enemies, because those still exist for some reason. It's solid. Just as with other shotgun primed mods, keep in mind that less weapons are shotguns compared to other categories, so this won't get used as much as other similarly good mods, but it's an okay pickup. Primed Bane mods, oh baby! Covered these when talking about the Smite faction mods. When talking about all of the other faction mods, I only recommended the Grineer one, and even that's not much worth using even against Grineer, but overall they aren't really terrible if you want to swap builds for every mission. I just don't think they're worth your resources over other stuff. Yet again, moving on, here's the payoff. Drumroll please. The Apex. Primed Animal Instinct. The only mod, other than Vacuum Fetch, which you will benefit from in almost every single mission you ever play, and my highest recommendation for a primed mod if you do not have it. This basically mods a core game mechanic, making the minimap itself more useful, and it's a lot more useful. It's almost double the range of the non-primed version, and because circles, that's exponentially more of the map that you'll be able to see enemies and loot on. There is no reason not to use a companion whenever you can, and this is one single mod that nearly every loadout you ever use will benefit from. It even doubles up with Chorus since Venari can use the same copy. Ridiculously valuable mod. There is no type of player that should not get this immediately if they don't have it. I wish I could describe to you the smile that crossed my face when I saw that this was so appropriately the final primed mod. Whew, okay, that was all of the prime mods. There wasn't as many as I felt like there would be. Back to some more random rare mods, I guess. Did you buy Primed Animal Instinct yet? Astral Twilight is farmable. There are plenty of solid glaive weapons, and this stance gives them a lot of range, since many of the combos throw the glaive out to orbit you. Not a lot to say. Having some good range on your melee is fantastic. Glaives are pretty reasonable weapons, so this is nice, and it's also farmable. Buzzkill is farmable. I'm going to be a buzzkill about Buzzkill and tell you that it's not that useful. Like other physical damage mods, it's the same multiplier as elemental mods, so running a ton of these types of mods together gives you pretty bad marginal benefits eventually, and you often simply don't need more slash procs. These slash procs do not increase the damage of your slash procs, they just make it so you relatively often get more of them. Particularly on melee weapons where you have limited space, I wouldn't focus on these too much, but they aren't never useful. Collision Force, oh yikes, is farmable. Literally just copy-pasting what I'm going to say about the other impact mods since they're the same. These mods that give you physical damage are the same multiplier as elemental mods, so usually the elementals are better since they have powerful status effects that represent different damage multipliers on their own. And because the physical damage mods don't give you their listed percent of all your damage, they only give you that much more of however the much physical damage you have, they're kind of meh. Crash Course. Oh baby, here we go again. It is farmable. And surprisingly, actually, it is a bit different. So for this one, it can very occasionally be useful for Eidolon hunting. If for whatever reason you need a truly massive amount of raw damage, say because the enemy is immune to status effects, which are better than raw damage, you might use, say, Chroma to greatly increase your base damage, which makes Serration less useful, since it just adds to that same multiplier. It's also base damage. If that happens, then you want a ton of the elemental multiplier, which these physical mods are also a part of. And once you add radiation and cold, this is the next best mod. Sometimes this will be your best option in that very specific type of build, and otherwise it's not normally useful, and it is normally farmable. Fanged Fusillade is also farmable. These slash mods don't make your slash procs deal more damage, they just give you relatively more of them, and the raw damage is only added with the elemental mods, which isn't good. And that isn't useful in the specific Eidolon niche I mentioned for Crash Course, because the slash damage itself is bad against armor. Normally that doesn't matter, because the slash status effect bypasses armor, but on the rare occasion you want raw damage instead, slash isn't good for that. Let's see if we can go even faster, because we have to do this again. Full Contact is farmable, literally just copy-pasting what I'm going to say about the other status effects, because they're the same. Impact mods. These mods give you physical damage, and they're the same multiplier as the elemental mods, so usually the elements are better since they have powerful status effects that represent damage multipliers on their own, and because the physical mods don't give you the listed percent of all your damage, they only give you that much more of however much that physical damage type you already have. Meh. Done with that. Moving on to High Voltage. So this is farmable. Yep, that's a status elemental, worth having, widely useful staple buildcraft tool. Crit and status forming a beautiful hybrid unison is the best, and this mod helps you do that. Go pick it up, not just from here because it's farmable. Jolt, not farmable. This one isn't farmable. I'm happy I'm almost done with this part of the video, are you? Yeah, this is very useful. You'll use it a lot when making corrosive, and it can work well alongside viral too. It's a status effect that scales with crits, so that's nice. It's great all around. Maim is farmable, even more than physical damage mods are normally not very good, see copy pasta, because they don't increase your slash proc damage, only how many procs you get, and that's part of the same multiplier as usually superior elementals. Maim is a pistol mod, and not very many pistols have a lot of slash damage. Hoorah! No more of those IPS mods. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a little, Ooh, baby. Getting into weapons now. So note that all of these weapons are tradable if they're unranked and unmodded, so no Forma, no Catalyst. Of course the mods are tradable too, but to be clear, you can buy and sell these weapons with other players. Not that you necessarily should or shouldn't, but it's an option. And yes, they're all worth Mastery. I'm not going to mention that every single time. Mastery isn't that valuable unless you specifically just want a lot of it, or you're low Mastery, in which case you know that you want Mastery, and I don't have to tell you that they're worth Mastery. Let's begin. Mareditron. A secondary shotgun with moderate fall-off, good base damage, and terrible crit. This is quite decent, but not amazing. It does have an augment that does percent base damage to enemies when you kill one with it, but the radius is small, and the damage diminishes radially, and it's magnetic damage. On the other hand, its innate radiation damage is very nice. Pretty reasonable weapon, amazing reload speed. Glaxian Vandal. At the end of the laser beam, this Vandal version creates a little damaging field, which makes it more splashy. It has barely good enough crit and absurd status output. Innate cold damage is good. This is great. Not a lot to say. Ignis Wraith. Some clans can provide you with the blueprint for this, so try to get it that way. It's not a lot better than the normal Ignis, but both are very good. Innate heat is good, status and crit are good, ammo efficiency is absolutely insane on this weapon. Great weapon that you should be able to acquire for free, so I wouldn't recommend buying it. Machete Wraith. So there are very few machetes with good stats. This one has great stats. Machetes also have a unique radial spin 4-hit heavy attack. You can kind of see that here, but anyway, it's radial as well. That's quite powerful, and that's also good for that. It's a fantastic weapon if you want one of those things, although a Zom Machete would make a great heavy attack weapon too, with its Exodias supporting that playstyle. Prisma Angstrom, currently held back by this terrible status meta, in which gas, which would be the status effect that would give this thing a good damage multiplier, is unusably weak. In the future, I'm sure gas won't be completely useless, and then this will probably be pretty decent again, but it won't be that amazing. It wasn't even that amazing before. It's pretty funny with a lot of magazine capacity though. The big thing about this weapon that's distinct is that when you charge up all the rockets into the magazine and fire them all at once, they're not going to the same place, they spread out more. So this weapon is good for the specific situation when you have a large crowd of enemies that are grouped together, but not in a ball like with Nidus's larva. They have to be in like a standing crowd. That doesn't happen that often, but when it does, this weapon is absolutely perfect for killing that specific formation of enemies that very rarely comes up if it has access to a usable version of gas damage, which it currently doesn't. Prisma Dual Cleavers. So these are good, dual swords are good, this is a dual sword. It's got a Syndicate augment for base damage. That's kind of whatever. You already have lots of good base damage mods for melee weapons. But this has good stances and good stats with mostly slash damage. Solid all around. There are just a lot of other good dual swords available. It's not because this one isn't good. Prisma Gorgon. A big magazine, horrible reload speed, good overall damage. Mostly impact from more Parazon finishers to trigger those mods if you're interested. Quite an acceptable bullet hose among many others. Prisma Grakata. Speaking of acceptable bullet hoses, this is a shooty thing that does the bullet real good. 2 augments to increase ammo efficiency, huge magazine and not horrible reload speed, good ammo expender. Prisma Grinlock. Well, being a semi-auto rifle in a game where that's not very good is bad. That being said, it's got good damage and stats, notably good status for a weapon of this type. It's got a good augment, it's fine. If you want this type of weapon, this is a good one, but you don't unless you simply like them. Note that this fixes the weapon's problems of not having enough damage. It doesn't help with not having enough damage, being a semi-auto weapon, but the magazine size to fire rate to reload speed ratio on the Prisma Grinlock is insanely good. Look how big that magazine is for having a quick reload, and you're going to be shooting like one shot at a time. That's awesome. It doesn't fix any of the weapon's problems, but that is not a bad thing. Prisma Obex, which I repeatedly mistakenly buy a second copy of, even though I barely ever use this weapon. It's extremely fast, low damage but good supplemental stats, punchy boy that has hilariously bad range, 1.25 range. You have to be a little too personal with enemies before you can get close enough for this weapon to actually hurt them. Obex does have a weird augment that can restore some energy and makes enemies explode when it kills them with ground finishers. That's okay if you group enemies up tightly and then knock them over. This is just kind of fine overall. Prisma Skana. Single swords are alright. This weapon's stats are okay. There are plenty of weapons that will do the job better and are easier to acquire, like many melee weapons in this game. There isn't really a reason to avoid this. There just isn't really a great reason to specifically seek it out either, which is why I didn't. Prisma Tetra. This weapon needs crit it doesn't have. It has that bullets bouncing augment if you don't like your friends to have good eyesight, but otherwise it's not very good. Perfectly acceptable damage and status, though, if it did have the crit. Prisma Twin Gremlins. Twin staple guns is solid, very simple, but good at everything. It's just got above average everything. Not at all unique, but quite solid and worth using. It's just got good everything you could say about a weapon. This is like above average, but that's it. Prisma Veritux. I don't believe that Arcwing melee combat will ever be worthwhile. Do not spend resources on it. There was even that background. Okay, anyway. If you're from the far future and this is wrong, I salute you. Fax me or something. For now, we have better things to buy. Prova Vandal. Well, okay, not that much better things to buy. Not a favorable comparison to Machete Wraith. It has a worse overall supplemental stat spread and no slash damage, and its weird augment doesn't do great damage, but if for some reason you like it, there are worse weapons to use. It's unremarkable but not bad. Quanta Vandal. Pretty okay beam weapon fork thing that also shoots explosive cubes for some reason. A really weird weapon that does fine damage, surprisingly little to say for a weapon that fires in such a bizarre way. Its beam status output is preposterously high, so high that you'll quickly be wasting that status output as you cap most of the status effects that are any good to stack. The cubes, they have bad crit, they'd be better if they didn't. The base damage is a bit unremarkable for explosives. It's kind of a bonus firing mode though. Supra Vandal. Popular bullet hose with a comically large magazine and an augment that restores energy and gives it status chance it doesn't need. This weapon's damage is technically unimpressive without fire rate that you'll struggle to find room for, but that's not a big deal. It's pretty solid. You can get that fire rate from wherever, or just not run the augment if you don't need energy. Good weapon. Viper Wraith. One hosey little pistol. This thing has pretty low damage, but the high fire rate takes care of the status output just fine. The augment that gives this temporary infinite ammo on headshot is all it's really good for, but it's not bad with that. It's an aim-dependent secondary. The damage is below average, but for a weapon that could theoretically never need to stop shooting if you keep getting headshots, this is pretty good, if that happens. Volkar Wraith. Semi-auto bad, sniper good. This one has nice stats. The reload is a bit slow, it's not amazing, but there aren't a lot of snipers, and this one has a good augment that gives you more damage. Sure, totally fine. Finally, the Zylock. Weird stats. Good damage, pretty good base damage and status. It's got great active firing time, but then terrible crit that it really needs. This is also a fairly slashy secondary, so that would make the crit even more valuable that it doesn't have. Overall, it doesn't do very useful damage, but it's not awful, and it has that unique duplex trigger. If you love this weapon, you can do some content with it, but I wouldn't get it planning to be impressed. That's the kind of weapon where if you really want it to be good, I'm sure you can figure it out, but give it some crit. I don't know, get a Riven, pile on some damage. That's not going to do much, but it'll do something. It's fine. Again, duplex trigger is fairly unique. Now comes a dizzying amount of cosmetics. These I'll just look through and comment on. They're cosmetic, it's subjective. I'll do my best. There are some non-cosmetic items hidden in here too, and I'll continue to address those as they come. But anyway, let's get started. Pyra Sugatra. So these are little keychains for the end of your weapons. These look really cool on glaives. The energy colors really well. They can look really cool if you kind of want your Warframe to be a blur visual mess. Pretty interesting Sugatra. Not a cosmetic a lot of people love, but this is a pretty interesting one. The Anpu staff skin. This is a interesting staff skin. You can now put skins on Zaws, so that's a major increase for how much I care about this. I don't know, subjectively I kind of like it. A lot of the staffs in this game look really weird, so if you want one that just is literally a staff instead of whatever the hell the rest of them are, like, I guess this is solid. The Anpu Sugatra. Floppy. They don't have enough weight, but they also feel floppy in a way that doesn't feel like cloth, you see. Personally not a fan. There's a lot of Sugatras like that. Cookist Sugatra. Yeah, this one flops a little better. If you want a floppy one, I'm cool with this one. It's fine. It's infested, a bit unique looking. One thing I want to note is that unlike most cosmetics in this game, this isn't really part of a series of cosmetics that look like this, so it might be a little difficult to make it look like not out of place in your loadout. Kind of a minor thing. Darksword Day of the Dead skin. Okay, Darksword's not very good. If you want to put skulls on it to feel a little bit better, then sure. Gorgon Tausun skin. This is a very matte textured series of skins, but it colors pretty well. This kind of skin I like to always highlight that the default colors might not be to a lot of people's tastes, but it colors well enough. I wouldn't be dissuaded by the fact that the default colors are a little, I don't know. It's alright. Might pick this up myself actually. The Ignis Tausun skin, same thing. I think the only detail here is there are some other Ignis skins that are pretty, like there are more Ignis skins than there are for the Gorgon. So I don't know, go figure. It's cool. Has a sort of fiery aesthetic. I feel like that fits the Ignis pretty well. That's cool. The Kiteer arrow skin. These are pretty cool. So there's an energy crystal here that you can't see in this preview. And these also take energy colors really well, and they have this trail behind them that's like the little Kiteer diamonds. They're cool. I recommend picking this up. If you ever use weapons that can use this, crossbows, any kind of bow, get this. They're cool. You could just equip it and never take it off. Kiteer Sugatra, same thing, like floppy. The cloth is not clothy. It's too rigid at some parts, but then not rigid enough later. The little diamonds inside are nice, but I just don't like this whole category of Sugatras. They're whatever. Machete Syachid skin. You tell me. Yeah, okay. I mean, there aren't a lot of different machetes in the first place, so if you want some more variety within them, I kind of think this is cool. I liked it enough to pick it up. Again, you can put these on Zaws now. A lot of people don't like how Zaws looks, so that's an incentive. This is an animation thing that I'm not sure how you would show you, where the blades will fold in, but then fold out when you're using it. That's cool. The Odonata Elixis skin. Arcwing Cosmetics. Look at the other Elixis cosmetics to decide if you like this aesthetic. There's no good way to show this in this particular format. Paracesis Elixis skin. I like how this weapon looks by default, but the Elixis thing is cool. These color better than you might think they do. It kind of looks like it's all the same color, and it says guild, blah, 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 intricate bronze, cast in bronze is a lot of how these skins are described. But they do color fairly well. It's not like it's all the same color channel. So it's cool. If you like having multiple metallics, this can be a nice series of skins for you. If you are on the fence about these, might I suggest coloring some of them grayscale metallics, like silver, and then having only one of the metallics, like the blade or something, or the hilt or something, be gold or copper or bronze or whatever. Don't make a bunch of different colored metallics. Try to do some silver in there, some darker metallics. Another thing that can work well is doing copper, silver, gold, like just all metal, like realistic looking metals. For other metallics, you can maybe go a little crazier. For these, I think it helps them not look as nutso if you kind of keep it realistic. That's just my recommendation. Prisma arrows, they don't really have an energy effect like the Kiteer arrows. They look kind of cool. These look really not painful to be hit with. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this. I don't think I've ever used these, but it is an arrow skin, go figure. Not a fan. Redeemer Elixis, good weapon. All the stuff I said about coloring the parts of the Redeemer skins separately. I mean, the Elixis skins, sure, the Redeemer skins separately. I've never really felt that the Redeemer colored particularly well, so maybe I like having a skin for this specifically. Sonic or Elixis skin. Not a terribly useful weapon at the moment, but a interesting looking weapon. And this skin, in my subjective opinion, looks pretty cool on it, so sure. It's, again, lots of metallics. You can do a mixture of coppers, silvers, and golds. You can go crazier with metallics if you like that aesthetic. I don't know, I think these are nice. Tigris Elixis. Yeah, so at the moment, the Sancti Tigris and the Tigris Prime are both kind of debatably good for different reasons. Like Sancti Tigris has crit that you maybe care about a little bit now. It's debatable how much the math holds up for that, but you might want one or the other. And a lot of people don't like the Tigris Prime's kind of excess, gigantic sort of bayonet thing on the front. This lets you get rid of that if you so choose, although there are other skins that let you get rid of that as well. Quanta A5 skin. Off-West. A5? I don't know. A while ago, you couldn't color Vandal weapons and Wraith weapons separately. You just couldn't color them. You couldn't change their colors. And this skin allowed you to. Now you can, and I think they color pretty well. So personally, I'm not the hugest fan. This is, I guess, like ice camo. I don't know what's going on here. Personally, not a fan. Opticore Elixis skin. Again, to drive home the point that these Elixis skins, you can color a bunch of areas separately. They look pretty cool. I think their color patches are often really nicely placed. You can make a bunch of different metallics here. As long as you like metallics, these skins color pretty well. It's not just all one block. Cool. Opticore's good. Opticore Vandal's good. Colors well, but this is different. Day of the Dead Dread skin. Or it's the reverse. Haha. Yeah, fine. Personally, I've never liked how the Dread looks, and I don't like how this one looks either. I do like the Dread's arrows, and this one, I guess the arrows are different. It kind of looks like they are. I can't promise you there's a different arrow skin there. But yeah, I don't know. Go figure. Not personally a fan. There are a few bow skins, too, so go figure. Baro Ki'Tierlist glyph. Why would you have that when you can have the Zandi glyph? Cookie Kavat glyph. Ditto. Why would you... But you could have these glorious pants adorning your screen. Yeah, I don't know. Also, like, out of season Christmas, Cookie Kubro glyph. I feel kind of the same way. I like the eyebrows, though. There's something assertive about the little peppermint eyebrows. Although, what candy... Anyway, that's like an extremely well-rounded... You took a part of a candy cane that was broken and then you just, like, blowtorched it? I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, the Kavat one's cuter, but this one has more attitude, which is cool. The Domus Syandana. This is a tiny lizette that hangs off of your back, and if you're Protea, it gets stuck on your ass turret. But I don't know, I mean, some people would want a tiny lizette on their back. Personally, I'm not the hugest fan of this, although I do think that these are fairly adaptable kinds of Syandanas. There's a whole category of Syandanas where it's a thing that hangs, it's a drape that hangs off the center of your back. That is fine, looks fine on plenty of frames. Bullet jumps look really cool with this kind of Syandana because the little tendrils kind of wing around you. But meh. Elixis Latron, this is a whole armor set, so I'll show you the pieces. Here's the chest piece, and these leg pieces, and the shoulder pieces. So I kind of like the back of these shoulder pieces. They sort of make you look like a Formula One car or something. I don't know. Like it's like I think of Gauss when I see these. The Elixis thing is interesting. So the thing to know about these is that there's another Latron set that Baro sells that is Prisma. So you can get the Elixis version or the Prisma version. Or both. I have both. I think that it's not that I'm so interested in having two of the same thing, but I decided to get both of these because when I'm fashioning something and I mix armor sets together, a lot of the time the color channels are different, which is infuriating, and having a different version of the armor set with different color channels can sometimes allow you to adapt it to look better, so you don't have to worry about the metallics being weirdly not metallic in some parts as much, stuff like that. So that would be the reason you might think, like, why would you get both of them? That's why I would get both of them. This chest piece, I think, sticks out a bit far. These legs, fine, a little flat. They stick out a little too much on the sides. Rather a fan of these shoulder pieces. I think I'll probably use these a few places. They're pretty all right. So, okay overall. Again, we'll review the Prisma version when we get there. The Eminence Palette. This is like a reorganized version of the Lotus palette, I think, or something like that. That being said, not half bad. Lots of colors that you can't easily get elsewhere. Twilight also has a lot of these colors. Color palettes is sort of like a dance of just get all of them, but if you really were going to min-max, which ones do you buy? You kind of could. I would just pick these up whenever you can. Like, you want to have color palettes. Fashion Frame is the true endgame. Get this one. It's not that much. EOS Prime Armor Set. So here, I believe this is the first time, maybe the only time we have to talk about cost. I think the deal here is that if you buy it all together, then you save a bit of ducat and credit cost. So let's just talk about it. Can you equip the whole thing? You can equip the whole thing. Why is it on Nova? Yeah, these are okay. I've owned this for a very long time, and I don't love it. The metallic is nice. I think that energy channel you can see, where like a huge amount of it just channels a bunch of energy, I'm not the hugest fan of that. That being said, these spurs can fit into some fashion kind of nicely. And one thing I do like also is these shoulder pieces. If you have Sekharas, the little glowy emblems on your shoulders, they fit perfectly inside there. So that's cool. It's also a low profile chest piece. We don't have a lot of those, so that's nice. I might consider just getting the chest piece. I don't know. But anyway, you can pick it up as a set. It's not that much for the full set, so go figure. Fae Path Ephemera. This is, okay, well, it's giving me a little demonstration. Yeah, it leaves this in your wake. Yeah, it's a pretty subdued ephemera. If you want to add one of these cosmetics to your fashion, but you think a lot of them are too messy, which I know a lot of people do, this one is more subdued. It colors fine. It doesn't take two-tone energy particularly entertainingly. But I don't know. I think it's pretty. It's peaceful. Fall is the best season, so that. Emblem. So emblems are the things on your shoulders. Sekharas, they're often called, or emblems. These are the things I was talking about before that fit inside some armor pieces. There aren't very many of these in the game. A lot of them are just white, and you can't change their color. Others of them will lock on to colors you already have on your warframe. You can't color them separately. So I don't know. I mean, there aren't very many of these, so if you like this one, I would pick it up. I would try to pick these up when you see them, so you have options for that part of your fashion if you want to use it. The sigil. So this is, of course, the sigil. It goes on your warframe's chest. I really don't like sigils overall, so I'm quite biased. You'll have to take this questionable example of one. Coloring them all individually would be time-consuming. Most of the ones from Baro Ki'Tierlist are not remarkable. There are a few that people say are, so I'll highlight those. These cost very little if you want them. I don't know. Harkonar Wraith Armor Set. You can't buy this one all together or something, can you? I'm pretty sure you can. Chest piece. So remember that the Wraith items can be colored now. You can change their colors. Another relatively low-profile chest piece. I'm sort of a fan of this one, although it is asymmetrical, which I know drives some people crazy. There aren't a lot of options for that stuff, so that's cool. Harkonar Wraith Cloak. Again, a drape-style Syandana that can look okay on a lot of frames. This one is a little rigid for my taste. I kind of like this back part to be streamers for my part. I think it looks better when you bullet jump and move around, but this is okay. I don't love how this colors. The other pieces color a little fine, but this has a lot of textures I don't love, personally. These leg armor. So one thing I like about these is they aren't quite the same place as a lot of other leg armor. They're more near like your kneecaps instead of like right on your shins. I think that's nice. I might have forgotten my anatomy and those are the wrong parts of the body, but you get the point. They're in a different spot. Again, they color fine. The shape is a bit unique. These are fairly low profile. I think they're rather nice. If you want to add some armor, that's fine. Again, remember, you can recolor them. They recolor fine. The arms, not a fan of these. So the big thing I dislike is, as you can see, they're asymmetrical, but the thing is, like, the two different parts would look good on different kinds of frames. Like, personally, I just don't really like this one. I just don't think that it looks good on a frame that wants like a gigantic pauldron like this. I wish they were both like this. I think this one looks badass, but this doesn't do the same thing. Does that make sense? You could just use this one. There are frames that have something on their shoulder here, but not here, and then you could just use this one, or various asymmetrical frames, etc. So it's not the end of the world. Maybe that doesn't make these not worth buying, but I do want to highlight that compared to other armor pieces, these are pretty expensive. Like, each piece is the cost more than the cost of the entire EOS Prime armor set, so certainly consider them carefully if you're going to buy them, that's all. The Hydroid Immortal skin. So with Immortal skins, a thing that you should keep in mind is that they can mix with the Prime skin in some very interesting ways or some very ugly ways, depending on how you feel about it. They can have problems with the metallics, but personally I think there are some odd, unique fashion possibilities here. So I would say if you really like the frame that these Immortal skins are for, pick them up and give them a try. You might find that there's some very odd fashion you can do with them that you really like. A big tip I would give you is that if the frame is a metallic, which the Primes will, use grayscale so that when it's not metallic on the immortal parts of the skin, it doesn't look weird. That's a way to get around that fairly elegantly. In my belly glyph. Okay, so I would make the joke about you could just have the Zanny Pants glyph, but this is amazing, so you're allowed to have this glyph. I will permit it. You can have this glyph instead of mine. The Kiteer chest plate. So the Kiteer chest plate, one of the Kiteer armor pieces. There are two Kiteer armor sets. There's the Kiteer armor set and the Kiteer Foros armor set. This one is like a sort of Kiteer Iron Man thing for your chest. I don't love this, but overall I'm kind of a fan of this. There are a lot of frames where it fits in an interesting way into their chest. You should know that when frames get skins, or like primes or whatever, all the armor pieces and Syandanas are manually placed on that skin, all of them, which is one reason it takes so long. So a lot of the time these are placed in fairly interesting, unintuitive, but cool ways. Overall, this sticks out a little far some of the time, but I don't think it's half bad. If you're interested, you could give it a chance, or if you don't mind them sticking out, this is a good way to be fashionable and enjoy something protruding from your chest. The Kiteer palette, good palette. I like a lot of these colors and use them a lot. It's not very expensive. Color palettes are the end game. If fashion frame is the end game, color palettes are the grind. So I would get this. It's a color palette. I recommend very few things more than color palettes. The Kiteer Diax Syandana. There are two other versions of this. So this one. This one is like kind of dirty. A lot of people describe it as kind of plain. It's bulky, it's blocky, but there are frames on which this looks geometric and kind of in place. A simple example would be Vauban. These can be okay. I have used these from time to time. I think they're all right. I actually kind of do like the cloth texture on these, so that's something. The Kiteer Ephemera, pretty cool. Creates these Kiteer diamonds that have two-tone energy around your body. Another, I don't know if I would say subtle, but maybe not, visually cluttery ephemera, if you were interested. I rather like this one. And again, ephemeras, like, there's just not a lot of them, and they're all pretty specific to acquire. So if you want the option of that, something in that cosmetic slot, it's kind of like Sekhara's. You want to pick up them whenever you see them. The Kiteer Foros chest plate. So we'll review this chest plate, and then I'll go through the rest of the Kiteer armor set and the Kiteer Foros armor set. So the Foros chest plate. This is a lot more low profile. It's flatter. Looks nice, kind of like a weird tie or like a chevron on your chest. Pretty low profile, looks nice on a lot of frames. Again, I think there is a lack of chest pieces that are not like way too far out. They don't jut out too much. I don't love it on Protea here personally, but I think these are fine. Might be worth picking up. Again, the Kiteer Foros legs, these jut out all the way to the side. I don't know though, there's something about the silhouette of these that I kind of like on a lot of frames. I just think these are sleek, like it's a certain kind of fashion runway sort of fashion that maybe doesn't feel practical in real life, but this is a Space Ninja game, so I don't know, these are fine. I do also want to mention that these color quite nicely. They have nice color channels. They have this nice thing where you can see there are some channels that are in the back and then there's the metallic at the front. So they feel like they have a greater variety of color than they actually do, which is cool. The Kiteer Foros shoulders, not the biggest fan. I think on a lot of frames this kind of makes their shoulders feel wide in like a weird way, rather than making them feel more even in a way that I would generally prefer. But they can look okay. Again, a low profile shoulder piece. If you want to put armor there or add more metallic to a frame, that's often a way these can be nice. These are a good way to do that. Kind of my least favorite of the Kiteer Foros set, but that's just my part. The normal Kiteer set leg plates. I also like these. They color in, again, kind of a weird way. They're pretty unique color channels, but they can mesh with other things fairly well. They're fairly low profile, as you can see, yet they make a statement. They have that sort of weird little high up on the leg spur thing. Personally, I'm a bit enamored with these. I don't know why, I like them somehow. They're such a in-between of a lot of other types of leg pieces. They're cool. I think they're cool. The Kiteer Raza Sayandana. Yes, the Kiteer hoodie. It has that little gem in the bottom that can be colored. It's okay, it's kind of floppy. I think this one is weird because the frame has to not have clipping on their shoulders for it to look good there, and then also way down, it droops really far down. But on the right frame, this could be okay. Not personally the biggest fan, but it's a fairly unique looking Sayandana, so go figure. The Kiteer Sekhara. Yes. These arm gems. Again, there are very few Sekharas. There are also very, very few that you can color separately. Most of them are just white. You can't color these independent of your Warframe, but the point is your Warframe's energy colors and emissive colors, I forget which, will affect these. I would really recommend picking these up. They look cool in a lot of shoulders, and you have very few options for this cosmetic slot if you want to put something there. Finally, the Kiteer shoulder plates. Yeah, they're fine. A little wide, but I think these can fit plenty of frames. From the back, they have an oddly pleasing aesthetic. Remember, you're usually looking at your Warframe from behind. I don't know, I like these. They do color in a rather unique way, I mentioned with the other Kiteer pieces. And remember, this is different from the Kiteer Foros set, but they can mix fairly well too. I like these, personally. I think they're a nice pickup. The other two Kiteer Sayandanas, here's the Solstice version with all the metallic, a lot of metallic, and then you can color this. This sort of Celtic knot looking stuff down here colors really nicely. You can do some really pretty things. The metallic can be a bit much for some people, fair enough. The normal Kiteer Sayandana. Oh, this is the dirty one. I said the other one was dirty. This one has kind of like a snakeskin thing that I think is gaudy and looks really bad. But if you might like this. The Kiteer Diax Sayandana is kind of like this, but just cleaned up. I thought this was the dirty one. No, I guess this is the one I and maybe a lot of people like for not being the dirty one, and then it's not the Solstice one. The Kiteer Glyph. Please, if you're going to run branding, there's only one meta to attend to. The rest of the EOS pieces individually, I already talked about these with the full EOS set. Just note that, again, you're saving a little bit if you buy them all together. So that's something. At least I think you are. Let's double check that you are. 50, 65, and then here's the chest for 125. So that's something, 285. So you save barely anything, like 10 ducats or something? That seems awfully low. Or no, is it more than that? So it's 100, 200. Oh no, so it's... Anyway, you decide for yourself, but it's not a huge deal either way. If you like the individual pieces, don't feel bad. The Prisma Daedalus set. We have these legs. These go up a bit far for me. They're kind of wide. Keep in mind that these, so you buy the left and the right separately. There are some where you do that and some where you don't do that. That's kind of weird. I don't know why, but yeah, this one you buy them separately. Yeah, these are a little large for my taste. They color pretty interestingly, that Prisma smoky texture. Personally not a fan of the legs though. The shoulder guards. So these I like. They have this nice sort of citadel or defensive fortress looking thing. They look like armor, but they look ornate as well. I don't know if I like this door knocker thing, but I like these. I use these from time to time. They color kind of nicely. They are a little harsh. Some of the color channels are a little stark, but what are you going to do? And we'll also include the other Prisma Daedalus pieces when we get to them. The left Prisma Edo knee plates. Again, left and right separate, which is awkward. Here we have the left one. These I don't think color well. It's this smoky thing that I liked in the Daedalus one. I like the shape of these, but they color really blocky. Like this channel that has the smoke over it doesn't really color in a pleasing way, at least to me. I know a lot of people have complained about that. I'm not a fan. So personally, I wouldn't recommend this set at all. Same thing with the shoulder plates. I really like the sort of plated samurai era armor set. It's nice, but you can get this as non-Prisma, like you just get the Edo armor set, and I think it kind of colors better. This is sort of blocky in a way I don't love. Now the metallic around the edge can be nice. If you really manipulate colors, it can be nice. If you're gonna fashion these and you're in love with them, what I would recommend is that you make these look good and then color the Warframe, because if you color the Warframe in a way that looks good, these are not gonna look good with this color. So that is what I have found when I try to fashion with them. The Limbo Immortal Skin. Personally, I think of the Immortal Skins, this one is really weird. There's an odd texture on it, but again, I'll probably farm for this and pick it up. I'm right at the beginning of the first of his 2 visits this year, just because it can combine in really weird ways with the Prime I was mentioning. Sometimes they fuse together in a way that is really odd. Another unique thing I'm noticing about this one is that it does have a metallic, whereas usually the Immortal Skins don't. So that could be fascinating. I'll definitely play with this one. Again, my philosophy about these is they're pretty weird. They take some devotion to the frame's fashion to work out something good, but if you really like the frame that the Immortal Skin is for, try picking it up and playing around. The Mesa Immortal Skin, same stuff. Mesa has some weird uncolorable stuff on her default skin, so even more than normal, I would think you're going to fuse this with the Prime and have some weird results. I think Mesa looks really cool with grayscale as her metallic, so this could fit in really nicely. That's a good way to make sure that the Immortal color channels that don't have a metallic mesh well with the Prime channels that do have a metallic. I don't know, this could be really cool, but again, it's the kind of thing that if you don't really like the frame, I probably wouldn't go for it. The Mirage Immortal Skin, same deal. Mirage Prime combines with this in some pretty interesting ways. I found I didn't like this one that much with Mirage Prime, but it can be pretty interesting. It does have some odd consequences for her color channels. It looks pretty crazy on her body. You get a sort of even more Harlequin played up aesthetic, which I know some people don't like, but if you do like that about Mirage, this is a good way to get that aesthetic even more. Looks really good if you color her like more like card suits. That can be cool. Pack Leader Emblem. So again, this is an emblem like a Sekhara on your shoulder. There are not very many of these. You can't color this one, it's just white. But if you like these, there are not very many, so you should get this one. You should get all of them. Pack Leader Sigil. No, Zanipant Sigil. Bad. Just kidding, this one is on the chest. I always get glyphs and emblems and sigils mixed up. Yeah, no special colors here that I'm aware of. I'm just not a fan of sigils, so I'm the wrong person to recommend them. Personally, generally, I focus on whether they're symmetrical, and this one isn't, but it could look okay if you made it small and made it like a badge on the side of your shoulder, maybe. That's an idea. The Prisma Avia armor set. These stick out a bit far for my taste, especially on the legs, but they are thematic. I mean, Zephyr, it's like you can't really go wrong there, right? Not a huge fan of the legs, though. These also color a little dramatically. This texture on the wing is it's pretty matte, which you might not like. I don't like that, but some people don't mind. These are also notably particularly hard to fuse with other armor sets. The metallics just won't line up very easily. Prisma Avia chest, very low profile chest, good. We don't have a lot of those. Colors fine on its own, can be hard to mix with other ones. Makes you kind of look like a car, but what are you going to do? Warframes are cars, except for all the ways in which they aren't. Prisma Avia shoulder plates, my best favorite piece of the bunch. These are nice. They are wings on your shoulders. They look cool from behind. They don't look like overly bulky. They make you have this kind of badass looking silhouette. Yeah, I don't know, I'm cool with these. Again, the wings color a bit differently. I should have specified before, a big thing is that this is metallic and then this isn't. This is a different channel, so that can make it look a little funky. It's very matte, so The Prisma Daedalus chest plate. Yeah, so it's flat, it doesn't stick out too far, but it isn't that low profile. Like you can see it is pretty bulky. So I don't know, this one is a little eh. I like this with the Oberon Faerok skin. That's an example of a place I enjoy this. One other thing I like about this a lot is that it has this sort of different direction flow with that smoky Prisma effect. I like that. That's kind of cool. Probably need a frame with a really big chest for this to work out, not like that. Prisma Edo chest plate. So the Edo chest piece has a unique energy effect where whenever you do a bunch of stuff, like bullet jump or get shot or whatever, it puts a little like circular shield around the core of your warframe. That's cool. It's energy colorable. As a piece of armor on its own, it doesn't look like much, you know. That being said, it is very subtle. Sometimes it can be cool to add metallic to a frame by just putting armor pieces on. This is a way you can do that. You can do that with a normal Edo chest piece as well. So, I don't know. The Prisma Hecate Sayandana. Yeah, floppy. It's kind of rigid and under control and not like just a piece of paper or a total flop in a way that I don't mind. I think this is okay. Could look, it's a little insectoid. Maybe you could make it look cool that way. Again, that nice smoky Prisma texture. I also really like the matte texture underneath this Prisma smoke a lot better than on other Prisma items. So personally, I'm sort of a fan of this one. Go figure. It's a decent Sayandana. Now we have the Prisma Latron pieces. So this is a mirror to the Elixis Latron pieces that we talked about earlier. So this is this. It looks the same, but it's Prisma. As you can see here, there are some channels that make these little bits sort of stick out a bit more than they did before. The colors are a little more, again, the Prisma skin is just a little more dramatic, and colors a bit more blockily, which some people won't love. Some of the pieces I'm sort of okay on. I really don't like the legs like this. Could look kind of cool as an underwater theme thing. Pretty okay on the shoulders. I said I liked that piece the most from the Elixis set. I sort of like it. I don't think I'm going to like how this colors very much. This looks kind of nice. I sort of like that being that texture. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Personally, I would maybe go for the Elixis one. But I got both, and I explained that I wanted both because when I'm mixing armor sets, I want the option to change which channels are metallic to some degree. That could allow me to blend them in a way that I wouldn't as easily be able to before. So that's why I got both. Prisma Lotus Emblem, Glyph, and Sigil. So again, emblem, that means something on your shoulder. Yeah, I think that this colors, or does it? Maybe it doesn't. That sort of looks like default colors. The question here is if this copies your Warframe's energy. It certainly has some color. I actually don't know. That's a good question for the comments. I'm sure somebody will. It's okay. Again, a little busy for my taste. But there aren't very many of these. I would just pick them up where you can. Glyph, nope, Xaniglyph. Again, if you're going to represent some branding, you know who to call. And the Prisma Lotus Sigil. This one has an interesting effect. You can see even without any coloration or me placing it or resizing it or anything, it actually looks pretty cool. It has this sort of flowing effect. I think this looks at first glance to me like there's sort of a Kiteer signature sigil effect where it's like a grid sort of fading into the background that I think looks really cool. There's another Kiteer related sigil that looks like that. So anyway, that's pretty cool. I actually might pick this up if I have enough. I'll have to write that into the notes afterward. Prisma Notorious. These, the thing you should know is they stick out really far, but when you bullet jump or like aim in a few things, I think it's when you aim, the wings will fold back against your warframe. I think it's to get it out of the way so it's not blocking your vision. You might not like how that looks though, so like they won't stay like this in a mission. They will fold back. That being said, I think these look pretty edgy, but in like a cool way. I like these. There's a normal Notorious as well that you can get around Halloween, if I recall. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a fan of these. I think they're distinct. There's not a lot of armor that looks like this. You can do like triple wings on frames like Titania. You have for wings, and then you have these, and then you get a Sayandana that's wings, and you can have all the wings. I think that's cool. The Prisma Sigil, yes, this was the other one I was talking about that has that grid effect. So you can see there's this unique energy thing happening where there are these grid tiles sort of fading off into the distance. Pretty cool. Can have a very, very nice effect if you fit it into a piece of armor. Can add some visual interest. Cool sigil, not very expensive. The Prisma Uru Sayandana. Not a fan of this one. It's floppy in a way I don't like, you can see. But some people really like it. It does look like a awesome heavy metal snake tail thing. Personally, I don't like the way it moves. I just don't like. I feel like it's too rigid at the top, and feels too much like a Lego Technic that you snapped on the wrong way and it's not fully attached. I don't know. Prisma Yamako Sayandana. This is okay. I don't like how far down it goes. It doesn't go. It's like not enough or too much, depending on which one you're going for. I'm also not really interested in how it attaches to the top of your body. That being said, I know some people like this. Kind of like a banner. I can sort of see that. Also, the color channels on this are a little weird. Like, that's a little bit matte, cotton candy kind of. Seems like it would be too light or too, like, plasticky looking, even if you colored it. So, I don't know. Not a fan, personally. Prisma Kavat Glyph. I just want to say about these, I usually make my joke about my Zandy Glyph, but these look quite nice. They're pretty stylish. The Kubro one, just very aesthetically, like, has a nice snap. I like both of these. If you're going to use a glyph that isn't mine, use these. The other EOS Prime pieces, talked about these all as a group. The right Prisma Daedalus pieces and the right Prisma Edo pieces, talked about these with the left pieces. The Zephyr Immortal skin. So again, the Immortal skins, if you like the frame a lot, these can create some very weird, unique fashion. I think on their own, they're usually a bit crazy, but they can combine with the Prime skin in some very odd, unexpected ways that you might like. Zephyr, I don't know. I haven't tried this one. I will probably pick it up and give it a go. They're pretty expensive, so I wouldn't really recommend them unless you really want to play with the frame's fashion and get a very unique, bizarre appearance. My tip is that you should make the metallic on the Prime part of the skin when you combine the Immortal on the Prime. You should make the metallic be grayscale so that when it is not a metallic on the Immortal part of the skin, it doesn't look out of place. You won't notice as much that it's not metallic there. The Nexus fur pattern for Kubros. Doggo fur is currently a bit wonky. You see it looks like kind of bleh, but this is fine. I think it's a somewhat more natural looking fur pattern. Overall, it's still has some accents that you notice, like the little visual interest for the eyes and swirls on the legs. I rather like this one. I don't know how many Kubras and Kavats you're going to care about having cosmetics for, and there's an awful lot of cosmetics for them, but if you care about that, then this is a cool one, I think. The Dariga Desert Camo skin. Ah yes, the perfect way to make your 2 loaves of bread with a USB cord tangled in them look less weird. I don't think this looks less weird, personally. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Dariga. It's sort of like so ugly it's cute, but I don't really want to. Like, this just makes it look really like I don't know. I wouldn't. Don't go doing this. I don't know. Kavat Sentinel Mask. I've owned this for a long time. I haven't used it very much. Silhouette's okay. It's a little big, but it's a nice connection. I really like this little thing at the front. The metallics are weird. They don't match a lot of other Sentinel cosmetic color channels. The color channels just don't line up. The Kavat Sentinel Tail. So the problem with this is that most Sentinel tails have a thing where they rotate, or they're like not right side up, as you can see hilariously on Worm Prime here. A lot of them rotate, which will make this flop hilariously and distractingly. You might like that. I don't. There are a few where it doesn't flop. Some of them it's upside down like this. So I don't know, personally not a large recommendation. I bought these because I thought they were so weird that maybe I would like them, but I haven't used them very much. It's been like a year and a half. Kavat Sentinel Wings, again, real weird. Makes it look like a really sad sea animal. These don't match colors with other Sentinel parts very well. Personally not highly recommending. Kiteer, Kavat, and Kubro armor. So the Kavat armor, I like the hat. I like this sort of tactical cat poncho. But overall, I don't know, it's a little weird. Like it feels like the cat's just, it doesn't quite fit. The cat looks kind of uncomfortable. I don't know. Like this part looks fine, and then up at the top, it's like, I don't know. It's not very sleek near the top. That's how I feel. The hump is a little weird. I like the hat, I think it's funny, and the collar thing is cute. For the Kubro one, personally, I like this quite a bit more. I really don't like the Kubro collars. I just don't think they look good. This is a way cooler looking Kubro collar. And then it's got this absolutely insane like mask. This one is crazy, but I like it because it's like fantasy dog outfit. Like much more than the Kavat one is like, I almost feel like there are people in real life that actually have this for their cats. Anyway, so personally not a fan, but the Kubro one's cool. I might pick that up. Kiteer Sentinel parts. I like all of these. They combine really well. They're a very nice set. They have this cool energy color that gives your Sentinel like an actual face. That's something I don't like about Sentinels by default. So I quite like the head. Colors really interestingly. Has a few different metallics. Has this really, really cool sort of etched texture on this part. Very, very nice. The tail. Again, a lot of Sentinel tails will spin. Some of them don't, and for those I think this looks kind of cool. The little vacuum thing I think is a bit much, like the fact that they have this gigantic vacuum effect. But overall, not something that I dislike much. There are some skins where I really like it. Jin is one where I really like it, that Jin skin. I'm kind of a fan. Finally, the wings. This is the Sentinel cosmetic area where I like the least of the cosmetics we have, so having one that I like is worth a lot to me. You're using Sentinels a lot, so having them look good is important in that sense. If fashion frame is the true endgame, then you want to fashion the things people are going to see, and people are going to see your Sentinel a lot. Personally, I think these look pretty badass, so I don't know, they color interestingly, they have some okay textures, not as good as the mask, but still nice. Very, very expensive, but what are you going to do? Fashion. Nexus Gene Masking Kit. This gives you the Nexus Kavat fur pattern, as opposed to the Nexus Kubro pattern, which you can buy separately without a masking kit. And then it gives you some colors. If you're not familiar, the way that you get colors to fashion your Kubros and Kavats is by buying these color things. You don't get to use your color palettes. That's annoying. So having colors like this is kind of like buying color palettes for them. I'd really recommend picking these up, especially this white is really nice. Other ones I'm not the hugest fan, but what are you going to do? You've only got so many colors to pick from. Prisma Jet Sentinel Wings. Yeah, these color actually pretty cool. Personally, I don't think they look good, like just having rocket boosters on your Sentinel. But there are some Sentinels where they look hilarious, so play around. These color pretty sleek. So I don't know, those have grown on me since the last time I saw them. The Koi Tail, again, also colors kind of fine. The thing is that a lot of Sentinels kind of rotate their tail. A lot of Sentinels I think look really awkward with any tail at all, like even if the tail doesn't spin. Some of them look cool, it looks pretty cool here. So yeah, it's okay. Not the hugest fan of the Koi Tail, or the Mech Head. Not the end of the world. I like a lot of the Sentinel heads, personally. This one colors kind of okay. I have the normal version of those cosmetics, and I don't love them. These are not so bad. I could be convinced to pick this one up. However, it's a lot of Sentinel cosmetics for not that many Sentinels, so go figure. The Prisma Rostam Kubro armor. Yeah, it's, whoa. It looks badass. It colors really nicely. You can color it separately. It's got some nice metallics. That energy color is cool. Look how natural it looks. Like, this just looks so sick. I love this particular Kubro armor. I think it looks awesome. It's really, really natural. It fuses to the dog really nicely. I don't know. In my fantasy Space Ninja game, having my Hound have this badass unicorn armor is exactly what I want. It looks really cool. Prisma Shade. I told you there'd be some actual gameplay items squirreled away in here. Prisma Shade is one of them. What? It's wobble. it's bobbling. It's popping off. So the big thing to mention here that people always mention is mastery. I know I said earlier that I'm not going to mention specifically that things are mastery, but the thing is, this is the only thing Baro sells that is 2 items worth of mastery. Sentinels are worth a lot of mastery, and then they all come with a weapon. This comes with Prisma Burst Laser, which also gives you mastery. This is a lot of mastery. You can buy a whole lot of mastery with this. That being said, it doesn't do a lot else. Shade's ability is that it can stealth you when enemies are nearby. Functionally, that's usually only, because it's when you're not attacking, usually only when you're reviving people, and if you have your operator, you're already stealthed while reviving people. So, meh. Ambush is a precept it has, gives you some base damage when you leave stealth. It's not useless, there are playstyles where this can be nice. It can be good insurance when you're doing a spy vault or something. If your stealth goes down, Shade can just cover you. But overall, a pretty niche Sentinel. It's not a bad, just like general, it's tanky, so it's not a bad general use Sentinel, but it doesn't do anything too specific, and there are a lot of good things that companions can do. So while you should always have a companion, I don't know that it should be this one very often. I think this is one of the worst companions. That being said, it's not bad, and it's tanky, and it's a lot of mastery, so go figure. The Taxon Desert Camo Skin. Yeah, it's okay. I like how Taxon looks by default, but this isn't bad. Taxon is a little glossy by default. These create some color channels that I rather like. Taxon is such a silly Sentinel. It's my brand. It's wonderful. Look at the X. So I don't know. It's fine. I do kind of like this better than normal Taxon. So go figure. The Wysar Day of the Dead Kavat armor. Make your Kavat a one witchy kitty. Again, kind of like what I said about a previous Kavat armor. I think the thing I don't like about this is I feel like people in real life legitimately own this thing. Like this exact thing. Like this is not a very like fantasy. It's just like a robe, you know what I mean? It's not like fused into the cat. I don't know. The little booties are funny. They're not on the back legs. I really like the hat, but I don't like the rest of it personally. The Day of the Dead stylings are very pretty though, very intricate. So I don't know, it's alright. We have a whole category of 3-day boosters. So for all of these, we'll do them together. So for all of these, it's pretty much about whether you're going to use that little 3-day interval, or the other way that I've seen people use these is that they save up a huge amount of ducats over a very long period of time, and they use these as a free-to-play way to have an affinity booster active all the time, or have a credit booster, you know, whatever. Of these, I would say it's the affinity booster that you really want. I don't think that the other ones are anywhere near as valuable. I think the least valuable one is probably the resource, the mod drop chance booster. And the next most valuable is probably resource, next least is probably credit. I would go affinity, resource, credit, mod drop. That's the order in which I think those things will save you time. So go figure. Obviously, it's unique to your specific situation. Sometimes you're going to be farming like one unique mod, and then you want this. So another way to look at it is, this is good if you have a ton of it, whereas this isn't good most of the time, but when it is what you need, it's better. And then that's like marginally true of these as well, in between. So for all of these, I would say just think a lot about how much time you're spending farming ducats, because these are just saving you time. The one thing though is like ducats are more reliable, so if these are making it that you get more of a thing that is not a reliable drop, then you're making that farm consistent where it wouldn't have been before. That's pretty good. On the other hand, affinity is something that you can be using if you get most weapons virtually constantly. Like I put a lot of forma in most weapons to test them and play with them and enjoy them in different ways with different builds and on stream, and so I'm virtually constantly benefiting from an affinity booster if I have one. So that's something to consider. That's not true of every kind of player. Go figure. Credits, like if you farm the index, you should get this. I think for the most part, you should get these if you are deliberately doing a thing where doubling that thing will help. And note that you get lots of them from login. I just got a 40-hour resource booster from logging in yesterday, so pretty good. That being said, having this active all the time is kind of nice, so you could try to stack them up. The Axi A5 Relic. So this is basically Akvasto Prime. It's the ability to get Akvasto Prime. The Akvasto Prime is holding a Lex Prime in each hand, which is fine. Lex Prime is fine. It's a good pistol, good damage per shot, ammo efficient, kind of a long reload, but what are you going to do? Akvasto Prime is the exact same damage. Everything is the same, but the magazine is bigger and the reload is longer, but not twice as long. So on the surface, that's good most of the time, depending on how often you reload. So go figure. I think this is a case, though, where you're kind of abstracting the RNG a little bit too much. It's a bit crazy to be farming ducats to buy relics, to upgrade relics, to crack relics, like you just did to farm for the relics, and then hope that you get these parts. And if you don't get this part and this part, you can get Lex Prime from somewhere else. So I don't know, I would really consider just buying these things from other players, from Trade Chat, from Warframe Market. I don't know if I'd recommend actually buying the relics, but whatever. I mean, they're not that expensive. 2 Spectres, Corrupted Bombard Spectres and Corrupted Heavy Gunner Spectres. People like to meme about these because they're really wasteful. If you buy this blueprint, you only get to use it 1 time. You only get 5 Spectres out of it. This lets you just buy 5. This, you're still just buying 5. You just have to craft them for some reason. I have no idea what happened there. The thing about these is, like, on the one hand, it's not really worth it. On the other hand, this Corrupted Bombard Spectre has a shield drone with it, which is good. And remember, you can only have 1 of a kind of a Spectre. But if you have more kinds of Spectres, you can have more, however many Spectres. That, you know, like, that would have its niches. But this is the kind of thing that, like, if you do buy these, you really want to save them for a special occasion. Don't use them all the time. And really, don't spend a lot of resources on these. If you're not succeeding in missions, these are not the way to go. These will not make you succeed in missions where you were not before. They're a convenience that let you summon a bigger army in situations where that can be useful. Do not buy these if you are trying to complete missions that you are not successfully completing. Do not. But if you know what you're doing and you just want to buy these, fair enough. In some occasions, they can be sort of okay. Argyle Display. I don't like the shape of this thing. It's really weird. I don't know why this shape. You can adjust in some different pictures on it. That's fine. I really don't like this shape. I've owned this for a long time and I don't like it. Gristag 3 Beacon. So beacons in general, this let you summon some hunter that you can normally get attacked by in the star chart based on supporting a faction in invasions or killing a boss. Gristag 3 doesn't really drop anything that amazing. The big thing about these assassins is they drop parts for different ships, like landing crafts. That might be a reason you might want to farm them. If you do this, I would really recommend you do it in a group with friends so you can all benefit from it. Maybe split up who's buying the beacons. I don't know, it can be a bit annoying to get Gristag 3 or Zanuka to spawn. So fair enough. Like, I guess that's fine. Just, you know, you should be doing it for, not for the Detron, you should just buy the Mara Detron. You should be doing it for the ship parts. And you could just buy the ship parts from the market, or buy the ship from the market. The Inaros Tomb Scene. This is a Captura scene. It's pretty big. There's a lot of space in here. You can go inside if you've done the Sands of Inaros quest. You can go inside and walk all around the center part. You also get this outside part. This is a pretty big Captura scene. So I don't know, it's cool. I've owned this and used it and I recommend it. Probably a lot less useful if you're not a Captura or content creator though. Kiteer Fireworks. If you want to literally explode your ducats, you can do this. They look fine. They're consumable. Don't spend ducats on this unless you really like it. Orokin Tower Extraction Scene. This is an iconic scene in my humble opinion, but it's not a very big room. It's okay, it's very well lit, it's pretty neutrally lit. It can be fine. Again, you know if you're going to use Captura scenes. The Sands of Inaros Blueprint, lovely. Look how near the bottom we are, wow. This is a quest, and it gives you Inaros. Inaros is very good. At the time of this recording, Inaros' Prime is also imminent, so you might want to just acquire that. That being said, I think this is a fine quest. It's not amazing, it's not terrible. There are a lot of kavats in it, so you can scan those for genetic blueprint codes, genetic codes to make a kavat, not blueprints. That's fine. It's an okay quest, it's not amazing. There's some unique things that you can scan and then have them for the simulacrum if you care about that. That's a big notable thing about this quest, and that might seem like a weird reason to do a quest, but that's a thing. There's some nice lore in here that I personally appreciated. Also, some people just really like Baro, and this is a quest with Baro in it, so cool. It's fine. If you don't own Inaros and you're not going to get Inaros Prime for whatever reason, this is a good thing to get, and it's not very expensive either. Finally, we have the Stalker Beacon, or no, there is the Zanuka Hunger Beacon. Well, I bet I referenced that before. the Stalker Beacon is the last of our cycle of 3 beacons, and it's a little different. So the Stalker Beacon is going to summon the Stalker, but the thing is, Stalker comes up so much more often than Zanuka and G3. You could farm the Stalker for various things, which are good, but you don't need beacons for that. Like, the Stalker will show up plenty often anyway. You don't need to buy beacons for this. I wouldn't recommend these. Zanuka, to go back to what I was saying before about the G3 beacons, this drops ship parts. So if you want to farm the ship, certain other landing crafts, you can do that by buying these. I wouldn't do this to farm the Detrons. Sorry, the Detrons from this, the Brachus from G3. Both of those things have better variants. So the Mara Detron is from Baro, so don't farm it from this. And the Brak has the Kuva Brak, which you can get from Liches, so don't get the normal one from G3. I don't know if these are entirely worth farming. I feel like you might have your time better saved by getting platinum or farming platinum and buying the landing craft from the market if you want it. But you can get it from this. Again, I'd recommend get them with friends, split up the beacons, farm it that way so you can share them. Now we get into a huge amount of decor. The Aka Luxum ornament. I own a bunch of these, and I don't know what to do with them at all. They're just sort of like perplexing postmodern furniture. Like is a lot of these, and this is one of the most perplexing of them. I did a thing for hours one day where I tried to line these up because it's kind of a hexagon, you see. So I tried to line them up like a honeycomb, and then they'd all be like moving and breathing. It took forever. It didn't look that good, mostly because the bottom is like not flush with the floor. I thought it just looked kind of weird. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's like these, they're so weird. Of course, the big thing is you can't recolor these or anything, so keep that in mind. But they glow. They're very weird. If you want to have a ponderous orbiter, you can buy a bunch of these. The Azra Luxum ornament. So it glows. These are static. I think these are a lot easier to make look good in like the average orbiter. It's just a static thing on the ground. I don't know. These are nice. Having a little caltrop basically on the ground is fair enough for a disco ball, sort of, if you want to think of it that way. Sure, these are cool. I bought some of these and I don't regret it. The Kiteer Domestik drone. So nobody in their right mind is going to tell you not to buy these, but you got to keep in mind, like, when you buy a Roomba for your home, now Roombas can be real nice, but when you buy a Roomba for your home, you can get like the whatever Roomba, which is all you need because it's not that hard to make a Roomba with today's technology, or you can get a really spicy Roomba with all the fixins. It's not like better, really, you know? It's just a nicer looking Roomba. This is that nicer looking Roomba. Now, it looks like a little mouse, which is adorable, but this is so expensive. These are so expensive. I'm sure that the reason these are expensive is because if you have a lot of these, the bandwidth in the location where you have a lot of these is absolutely annihilated. Like, you lag so bad. They lag so bad. Their AI will just freak out and not know what to do. It's hilarious, actually. They look kind of drunk. We have a club in my clan dojo where we have a bunch of these. There's like way too many of them, and they just sort of drunkenly flail around. Not these, but like the normal Roombas. Yeah, I don't know. You can mix these in with the normal Roombas to make the normal Roombas feel bad about themselves. But if you do that, you're a bad person. Pick one type and keep it there unless you want to torture your Roombas. Yeah, these are absurdly expensive. That being said, I'll probably get some of them if I have enough ducats. Go figure. Baro Ki'Tierlist Noggle. Not sure what to say about these. It's a Noggle. Some people collect those. They're very collectible. I don't. Baro Ki'Tierlist Safari K-Drive Scrawl. A lot of the K-Drive Scrawls are not my favorite, and this one is really stylish and sleek. So personally, I'm kind of into it. It's just nice. It gives you something a bit different. It has this holographic looking thing going on. Cool. I have been excited to use this, except that I don't know what to do with my K-Drive, but go figure. Still cool. A bronze Kavat bust. Scary. This isn't huge, it isn't small. It's kind of, you know, yeah, I don't know. Again, this is kind of tacky in my opinion, but you decorate your orbiter however you want. Bronze Kubro bust. Again, maybe a bit tacky, but go figure. I don't know. These kind of weird me out a little bit. Here's my tip if you're enamored with these. Put them on your ceiling. Just, I don't know. Send me a tweet of you with these on your ceiling. I'd be interested. Desert Skate Floof. If you don't buy 10 of these, then you're a terrible person, and I don't like you. They're so cute. You have to buy these. If they ever make a plushie of this in real life, I'm going to buy just that many of that plushie. Digital Extremes, take my money. Dvad Luxem Ornament. This is like that one toy that expands and contracts. It's like a... Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a toy that is like this, that expands and contracts. Yeah, I don't know why I bought these. I bought one. Okay, I only bought one to my credit. Yeah, what are these for? Anyway, I don't know. Again, more ponderous postmodern furniture. Odonata Excalibur Noggle, very collectible. Not a fan of Noggles myself, but if you are, gonna want to pick this one up. A bunch of operator headgear. So we've got this Atmos diadem, a little crown on your head that has the gem. It gives me a very third eye or Jagan looking feel. These earpieces, if you want to make your operator look like an elf, cool. That's fine. Bane mask, hell yes, I wore this for a long time. Having a Bane mask as your operator's face is totally cool, as far as I'm concerned. Atmos Oculus, if you want VR early, my operator's eyes look really dead inside, that's terrifying. If you want your operator to be a unicorn, a unihorn. I don't know why I'm going over this part, because it's like you can just look at these yourself and decide, but anyway, we're here now. The Kiteer earpiece. Yeah, these are cool. I think these are pretty stylish. You can blend these with other things. I might even use these instead of what I have. A thing about the operator ears, and one of the reasons that I have this operator mask, is that I just think their faces don't look very good. And it's kind of uncanny. Like, there are so few human faces in Warframe, it feels kind of weird to see one. And like, you see the ears are just kind of like, I don't know. So I don't know. That would be a reason not to use them. You can also get a single earring. Cool. It's a little different too. You see, it's more of like a more of a stud than like a. This almost looks like it could be a dangly boy, or like a very big stud. Whereas this is a little more subdued. Cool, fine. The Kiteer stencil. What the hell is a stencil? This goes in your personal quarters and makes the walls look like this. Yeah, there aren't a lot of these, and I think this one looks really good. So if you care about that, I would buy this one. The Lizette Cydonia skin. Also known as the Lizette Towson skin, because this is the totally the Towson skin. Yeah, I mean, again, don't be fooled by the default colors, but this is a very matte textured skin that I don't really like. It's the texture that I don't like, not so much the default colors, which you'll, of course, change. I don't know, it just kind of looks like a toy to me. I like some metallics on my Lizette skin. The Mod Luxem ornament. Ah, yes, a nice postmodern coffee table for you to... I don't know, this one's okay. I bought a lot of these. I have absolutely no idea why. This is like some IKEA shopping. You just buy a bunch of... all these tables come, and you don't really know why, but you pick them up at some point. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. Mantis Cydonia skin. Again, the color textures are a little bit too matte, a little bit blocky, a little bit toy-like for my taste. I also personally don't really like the Mantis. It's a bit floppy for my taste in a starship. Oh boy, I'm really excited about talking about the Mantis Cydonia skin. Yeah, personally not a fan, but remember, you know, you're going to recolor it, imagine different colors, and then still don't buy it. The Mantis Prisma skin. Yeah, I don't know, the Prisma skins are cool. The Prisma ship skins can be pretty cool. I don't like the Mantis, but it's nice. Probably worth mentioning here, actually, that remember that landing craft abilities, landing crafts give you an ability with your landing craft beacon. Those are not tied to what ship you have equipped anymore. You can use any ability with any landing craft now. So if you like this, you know, you shouldn't feel like you shouldn't equip it. The Parazon poster, personally a fan. I bought this right before I started. I don't know, it's cool. I like some of these like high concept posters, or like being able to collect them in some way. I like the John Prodman autograph. I kind of like this one too. It's cool. I don't know. Prisma companion poster. Okay. I don't know. You could be a couple thing. You and your partner could each have one of the sigil glyphs. Yes, glyphs. I remembered the right name for them. And then you could put this up in your orbiter. I don't know. Could be kind of cute. I don't know. I have 3 cats, so personally the dog part I'm not sure what to do. The Lizette Prisma skin. Ship Prisma skins color kind of well, in my opinion. Cool. looks fine. I like the Lizette. That's what everyone has anyway, so that's something. Scimitar Prisma skin. The Scimitar has some nice cosmetics, some nice skins. I like this ship a lot. This is the ship I use. It's okay. Again, remember, you can pick different landing craft abilities with different ships. The Scimitar's is really bad, but that's fine. You can just use another one. They're also not that good anyway. This Prisma energy is moving around a little too fast for my liking, but what are you going to do? Yeah, it's okay. Again, I think the Prisma ship skins are cool. The Puspa Luxem ornament. Oh yes, wonderful. It's a postmodern bouquet of flowers. Again, I also rather like this one. I have these all around my operator in the transference room. I couldn't tell you why. I felt like it was something my operator would have in their room. I don't know, this is weird. It's not the weirdest looking thing though. I bought 12 of these and I'm not sad I bought 12. I might buy more. I don't know what to tell you. IKEA frame. Oh boy, there's more of these. Okay. Scimitar Cydonia skin. Again, don't like how matte the textures are. The light effect is a little weird. Just personally not a fan of this skin overall. I don't like the textures. Although for the Scimitar specifically, it does make it look like more like a weird manta ray. So I don't know. I guess that's cool. The Sema Luxem ornament. Why did I buy 4 of these? All of these ponderous postmodern pieces of furniture. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about this one. I don't know why I bought this. I think I was thinking it would be structural in some way. Maybe you could like build it into a line with something, or make it look like a power source for something somehow. I don't know. I'm no great IKEA framer or, dojo decorator. I don't know why I bought that. This rug, it's literally a rug. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. You can put it on some parts of your orbiter. You could give your cat a rug, your dog a rug. It's a rug. For this one thing, people who are watching the video all the way through, for this one item, forgive me and allow me to just not say anything interesting about this rug, please. The Vez Luxem ornament. Weird postmodern obelisk. Yeah, I bought 8 of these and put them around my operator. It looks really edgy and weird, but I don't know, I'm kind of a fan. Again, these are all kind of bizarre, weird, an exquisite ornament of unknown provenance, also known as postmodern interior decorator. So I don't know, I think of these, like this is one of the ones that can look like not totally insane and kind of in place, so maybe give it a go. The Zephos Prisma skin. Yep, it's a Prisma skin for a landing craft. They color fine. I mentioned about the Scimitar one. This Prisma energy is moving a little too fast for my taste. It's kind of stressing me out. I know that might sound silly, but I couldn't be joking less. This Prisma energy is moving way too fast. Okay, moving right along. The Zag Luxem ornament. Are there more of these? Okay, that's the last one. Good. Oh my god, are we at the end? Whoa. Yeah, this is... we're still doing it. It's okay. Don't run away. People think I'm chickening out. No, it's okay. I won't leave. This is okay. Again, weird postmodern obelisk decoration. I bought a bunch of these, put them around my operator. This is one that I think can look kind of fashionable. I think these could look good hanging from the ceiling, perhaps. I have a thing with like weird decorations in this game. Just put them on the ceiling. In real life, you can't just put things on the ceiling. Well, but it's easy to do in Warframe. So if you're going to IKEA frame your ship and you have a weird decoration and you don't know what to do, try putting it on the ceiling. Another thing I want to mention is you see this little thing at the bottom there? So now we go back up to this. Huh? Yeah, that would look ugly as hell, but you could do that. Pedestal Prime. Notable because it doesn't cost ducats, it's just credits. Some items cost only ducats, but this costs only credits. I'm just going to read the description of Pedestal Prime. Behold, the singular vision of a great artist and the life's work of a master craftsman. An artifact so refined, so imbued with the finest material, that it has no equal in this system. This is the plinth that all others aspire to be. This is Pedestal Prime. Pedestal Prime. Yeah, I bought 50 of these. I'm not sorry. I don't have anything else to say about it. I think that the planet trophies that you get from doing the Steel Path, which just came out recently, Warframe's hard mode, I was told by a viewer that they fit perfectly on Pedestal Prime. So yeah, buy like 200 of these. Kiteer Presents. It's an emote for only credits that makes you do the Baro Ki'Tierlist thing. So obviously you should buy it. Moving right along. Prime Chamber. Hey, there's another mod in here. Needless to say, you can't farm this. So the story with this mod is that it was only available a very long time ago as like a giveaway or from an event or something. I don't remember. And then it wasn't available for like 5 or 6 years. And then they randomly just YOLO put it in Baro's inventory with no build up and the market price of like 50 million platinum or whatever tanked overnight. Is this mod good? No. Is this mod useful anywhere? Yes, there is one place where it's good. If you play with Vectis Prime or the normal Vectis, and you make a build where you're going to reload every time. So the normal Vectis is only 1 round and you have to reload every time. So this will affect every shot. Vectis Prime, you can use depleted reload, so it has only 1 round and a faster reload. So this will work on every shot. It is a separate damage multiplier. It is a totally separate damage multiplier. So this is just everything that comes out of your gun does double damage. Your slash procs from 100 munitions, your base damage, everything, it's double damage. That is very good on like one weapon. Now, if you desperately want to use this on other weapons, I suppose that you could do something like, let's say, so we'll put it on the Lanka. There, the Lanka's pictured there. That's a terrible choice, but why not? Fire one shot, and then you could manually reload. You could do something like put the weapon away and reload that 1 round with the synth set. You could just melee, since there's no swap time, and then you only have to reload a tiny amount of the magazine, so you'll be able to swap back really fast. And if you do that with the right rhythm, you could be shooting only the first shot ever, and it would be a lot more damage. I don't think that's worth your time, but I gotta say, it's funny that they YOLO put this in the game. Very quickly, I want to mention that there is a mod called Charged Chamber that does the same exact thing. It's just only like 40% damage here. So you're not gaining that much by having this. But anyway, when this came out, people wanted to see it tested, and I did not have enough time to farm 3,000 ducats, yowza, to get this, and a viewer gifted it to me. So thank you very much, Jab, for gifting me this mod. I really appreciate it. It was a very, very kind thing of you to do so that we could all demonstrate with it. And you got to call in that favor someday. Neo01? No, 01, not 01. Neo01. Neo01 Relic. These are Volt Prime relics. Not much else to say. If you want to farm Volt Prime, you could buy these. Axi V8 relics. Volt Prime relics. Also, Odonata parts are in here, I guess. I don't think you should care about that, but Odonata Prime, I guess, is also in here. And then Axi A5, Akvasto Relic. So this is not the same thing. This lets you farm Akvasto, which lets you hold 2 Vasto Primes. Vasto Prime is fine. It's a slashy pistol. Good reload time, good fire rate, okay damage, good stats. Having 2 of them is pretty nice. You can fire for longer. The reload is still very fast. So that's fine. Again, I don't necessarily recommend that you buy the relics. I would just trade for or earn the platinum to buy the parts for Akvasto Prime and 2 Vasto Primes from other players. You could just farm the 2 Vasto Primes and then get the Akvasto Prime link and the Akvasto Prime blueprint. That's what I'd recommend. But go figure, that's the last item. We did it, folks. We got the whole Baro inventory in one video in one take, and it took less than 2 hours, baby. Can't get that anywhere else, can ya? Beautiful, we did it. Good job, Protea. Good job, Worm. See ya.